My dad had an affair and got the woman pregnant. This whole situation has been fucking with my head since it happened. Since around the time it started happening, and probably the time I, 16 was smart enough to figure it out, I had a suspicion that my dad had been unfaithful to my mother. My suspicion started when I was around 7 or 8. From what I recall, one night, my dad showed me and my sister a picture of these two kids while my mom was away. He said they were his friends and that sometime in the future he would take us to go play with them, which he did actually end up doing, which was interesting because my dad would rarely do things like that of his own volition. Usually my mom would have to make him do something like that. When we got to the little play place thing, we met up with some woman and her kids, and at the time I thought nothing of it, and my sister and I went and played with her kids, around our age. When we got home, my mom was upset and I could hear through the closed doors of our small house my mom saying something like, "I knew you were going to meet somebody," or something like that, and due to various other little things like that I've picked up from their interactions over the years, whether or not they were said right in front of me or overheard. Trust me, I don't eavesdrop. I hate when they fight. The suspicion has been building in the back of my mind. However, since it was just a suspicion, I could act like it never happened and push it to the back of my mind and go about my life like normal. Now to the present day, my parents have since had like a small few-month break without actually divorcing and then moved back in together and had another child, my youngest sister who's 4 years old. 5 days after when this was posted on Halloween, I was in my oldest younger sister's, 14 years old room, talking to her while my mom and younger little sisters trick-or-treated. My dad came in to just talk to us and mess around when I jokingly said, "She's in a bad mood today. What did you guys do to mom?" Since they always make messes and annoy her and argue with her. When my dad got all serious and told my sister to sit down, he then began to say a whole bunch of beating around the bush nonsense like, "I didn't mean to do this. I gave in to my instincts." And from there I already knew what he was going to say. About to continue, I cut him off and said, "I don't want to hear it because I already figured it out a long time ago." And then he asked us if we wanted to hear it or not. And my sister said she did, so I got up and left and went in my room. After I just laid on my bed for a few minutes, shaking, he came in my room. Despite my repeatedly telling him I don't want to hear it, he started his emotional ramble. He sat on the floor and said things like, "I know you love me, but I know you love your mom more than me. And I know you're going to hate me, you're going to want to hit me." And after all that, I tried one more time to get him to stop, and he insisted he tell me, so I just stopped talking. He then told me, "You're going to have another sibling," while crying, and that the woman was 6 months, he doesn't know what he's going to do, and that the woman also has older kids, one of whom goes to my school, that he works at, by the way, and that they, as well as my mom, are already aware of this information. He cried more and harder and got up and hugged me and apologized before he left to take my sister to her little get-together, leaving me home alone. There were so many thoughts and emotions swirling within me. I wanted to cry, but I couldn't. It felt like everything had been a lie. Even though my parents never had a great relationship, there was still a part of me that had chosen to believe that their fights were just petty arguments, but that at the end of the day they still loved each other and us. It felt like that had all been torn down. Through everything, I've always deeply desired my parents to have a good relationship and all my little siblings to be happy and get along. It felt like that vision of my happy family that I could always take comfort in when things went wrong had been ripped away. This realization hit while looking at the dinner table, where we would sit around and eat dinner as a family and had some of our best memories, and the thought of them all going away, all being fake and orchestrated just to give me and my siblings the illusion of a normal family, broke me. I felt the urge to cry and slapped myself to try and stop it. I looked over at the dinner table one last time, and my shaking limbs gave out, and I hit the ground and cried and screamed. It felt good, but upon the realization that my dad or mom could be home at any minute, I got up and wiped my tears and washed my face so nobody would know I had been crying. Since then, my family life has, for whatever reason, proceeded as normal. My mom doesn't seem that upset. My sister doesn't seem bothered and still talks to my dad like normal. Of course, the two little ones are normal because nothing changed for them. This is where all of my conflicting, confused thoughts start. For one, part of me feels like I'm being overdramatic because nobody in my house has a visible reaction besides me. Maybe it's just my teenage brain overblowing it and making it seem like more of a betrayal than it is. But at the same time, it literally is. When he was with whoever unintentionally conceiving this new child, were his wife or kids not in his mind at all? Did he just say fuck us? How the fuck could you do that and then come home to your family like nothing happened? Did he ever really love us at all? Or did he just marry my mom and have more kids because he accidentally conceived me with her? You'd think he'd learn his lesson, right, LMFAO? I haven't been talking to much of my family, and my dad not at all. The main reason for this is because I feel like they're almost not real. I don't know why, but I just do. I also feel like I cannot trust anyone anymore. So I've been trying to be more emotionally distant from everyone I'm close to. I finally realized that even your family can lie to you and hurt you. I also have grown a new determination to stop watching porn and giving in to any sexual or romantic urges I might have, since it's clear my father's actions were above all else, caused by a lack of sexual discipline. I feel like I can never be in a relationship because a woman could do the same thing he did to my mom to me. Or worse, I could end up like my dad and do it to them. Finally, the worst and hardest part about this is that I simply cannot see my dad as the villain. As much as I want to hate him, the images of him sitting crumpled on the floor and crying and apologizing and saying things like, "You probably want to hit your dad, destroy me." I have no clue how to feel about him because those feelings of sadness and pity are mixing with my anger at him for doing what he did. Above all, it just hurts to see how my dad really is. I don't think he's by any means evil or malicious or filled with hate, but he's just weak, undisciplined, lazy, and immature. I also can't talk to anyone I know about this because literally everyone in my life knows my dad, since he works at my school. I can't talk to a teacher, or my friends, or even the student support staff. I'm even nervous to post this, because if anyone who knows me even a bit in real life would very obviously know who's writing this. But my head is such a mess, I need to let it out somewhere.